Mr. President, to begin with, we strongly condemn Israel's continued aggression against the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Syrian Arab Republic and other nations of the region. The Israeli reprehensible act, along with its recent act of aggression against Yemen, which deliberately aimed at civilians and critical infrastructure, flagrantly violate international humanitarian law and the principles enshrined in the UN Charter, are a serious threat to regional peace and security. This regime, with its nature and essence based on terror and aggression, is a main source of insecurity and instability in the region and beyond. Regrettably, the international community, and particularly the Security Council, has failed to compel this regime to put an end to its ongoing acts of aggression and terrorist attacks against people and nations of the region, and this is very disturbing. We emphasize the urgent need for swift and decisive action by the Security Council to hold such a rough regime accountable. Mr. President, as usual, the representative of the United States attempts cynically to deny its responsibility for the current situation in Syria and the broader region by blaming Iran. Yet, an undeniable fact remains: the continued illegal presence of US occupying forces in Syria violates the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Syria, international law, and the UN Charter and UN Security Council resolutions, including Resolution 2254. Furthermore, the illegal presence of US occupying forces in Syria is the main source of instability and security, providing a space for terrorist groups to solidify their position and perpetrate further atrocities. Mr. President, the situation in Syria remains dire, with the people suffering from the ongoing humanitarian crisis, aggression, and foreign occupation, as well as the threat posed by the US-backed terrorist groups. Additionally, inhuman sanctions, the politicization of refugee and IDPs returns, and the obstruction of international support for Syrian reconstruction driven by US and its Western allies have prolonged the conflict and exacerbated the suffering of the Syrian people. These illegal actions impose undue hardship and hinder Syrians' paths to recovery. The recent UNESCO study on the impact of unilateral coercive measures on Syria highlights the severe and widespread effects of these illegal actions on various sectors, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis and hindering the delivery of essential services and aid. Focusing on our compliance, the study found that the UCMs have led to inflation, shortage of basic goods, and a deteriorating economic and security situation. According to the study, humanitarian exemptions fail to prevent disruptions, with service providers refusing to supply necessary educational, agricultural, and medical materials. The nutrition and health impact of UCMs are most severe in all areas studied. Hospitals struggle to import medical items and repair equipment, leading to severe shortages of essential medicines, including cancer treatments and vaccines. Furthermore, the findings of the study expose once more the humanitarian claims of the United States and sanctioning countries are hypocritical. We urgently call for the immediate lifting of these inhuman measures. Mr. President, the provision of impartial and non-politicized humanitarian assistance to all regions of Syria is crucial for saving lives. It is essential to plan humanitarian aid in a way that restores infrastructure, rebuilds the economy, and supports sustainable long-term development in the country. Currently, the funding allocated for the Syrian humanitarian response is severely inadequate, hindering the UN's ability to provide necessary assistance to those in need. We call on donors to fulfill their pledge, hoping their support will ensure sufficient and predictable funding. Iran welcomes the sovereign decision of the Syrian government to renew the permission granted to the United Nations and its specialized agencies to use the Bab al-Hawa crossing for an additional 6 months. Early recovery project must be prioritized, aiming to offer comprehensive support to those affected and facilitate their paths toward recovery and resilience. Facilitating Syria's reconstruction and the safe return of refugees and IDPs to their original places of residence in Syria need to be part of an overall solution to the current conflict in Syria. The interest of millions of Syrian refugees must not be held hostage for political gains by certain powers. Delaying their return will only prolong their suffering. We will continue to support the people and government of Syria in their struggle to overcome the threats of terrorism and foreign occupations. Terrorism remains a significant threat to Syria and the wider region and must be addressed decisively. However, the fight against terrorism must be carried out in full respect of Syria's national sovereignty, territorial integrity, and independence, and without using it as a pretext to violate these fundamental principles of international law. Places like Idlib must not become safe haven for terrorist groups. While every effort should be made to protect civilian lives, the fight against terrorism must continue until these threats are fully eradicated. Mr. President, the Islamic Republic of Iran is fully committed to contributing to a political solution to the Syrian crisis. We continue to extend our support to the Special Envoy's sincere efforts and commend his active engagement with all parties involved in the resolution of the Syrian crisis. Iran stands firmly behind the prompt resumption of Constitutional Committee meeting. We are committed to supporting this process. Moreover, Iran, alongside its partners in Astana format, Russia and Turkey, remains steadfast in its commitment to achieving long-term and sustainable normalization in Syria. In this context, we fully support the resumption of Syrian-Turkish dialogue, recognizing it as a crucial element in these broader efforts. I thank you.